Supergiant Games have 3 released games and 1 early access release under their belts so far. Bastion, their first, was a massive indie hit, a darling for reviewers and players alike that combined accessibility with gameplay depth, originality, gorgeous visuals, and brilliant storytelling. Transistor, their second, is one of the best games I've ever played, and manages to be excellent in exactly the same ways as Bastion while still being an utterly unrelated game. Their fourth game, Hades, just hit early access and is already looking like one of the best indie games of the decade. Pyre, which you might recognize from the title of this video, is their third. That was an Ender's Game reference. Did anyone catch that? Too obscure? Okay. Bastion and Transistor were both very highly praised, and Transistor in particular ate up a lot of development time over the course of years following its release as Supergiant ported it to just about every platform imaginable. Pyre, by comparison, flew mostly under the radar, and despite it having been released summer of 2017, barely 18 months later Supergiant is pushing their follow-up into early access. So, what happened with Pyre? Well, it must not have sold as well as the other games, but for the life of me, I cannot figure out why not. It would have been really easy for Supergiant to just make Pyre a sports ball game using the unique rule set of the rights, and shoot for something like Rocket League. But Supergiant didn't do that. Instead, they took this base concept, refined and very playable completely on its own merits, and wrapped it in this incredibly unique premise set in an original world and filled with interesting characters engaged in a fascinating larger conflict that ties the rights together. It's the most Supergiant treatment of what could have been an interesting but ultimately forgettable sports ball game that I can imagine. The end result is so much better than I honestly think it had any right to be, and my opinion of Supergiant Games could not be higher than it is. These folks deserve our undivided attention. Now, as they say, time is money. Money is also money, so the question, as always, is whether Pyre is worth either of yours. My answer is simple: never underestimate a third. Why yes, that was another Ender's Game reference. Thanks for noticing. Pyre is a solid 10 out of 10 for me, just like Transistor before it. It's worth more than what you currently have to pay to get it, so I honestly can't think of a good reason not to pick it up. Of course, your mileage may vary, but in this case I'm pretty confident it won't.